Hello, Saints. I'm looking in the book of Ezekiel there, chapter 1. And in there, Ezekiel, who had just come to the land of Babylon, has a vision of the throne, a vision of God. Chapter 1 of Ezekiel, beginning around 27, when he sees this throne in which a figure of the appearance of a man is on, he says, I noticed from the appearance of his loins and upward something like glowing metal. It looked like fire all around within it. And from the appearance of his loins and downward, I saw something like fire. And there was a radiance around him. He says, as the appearance of the rainbow and the clouds on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the surrounding radiance. Such was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell on my face and heard a voice speaking. This is what's called, in theological terms, a theophany. That's from the Greek word theos, for God, and it comes from the Greek word epiphany, appearing. This is the appearance of the deity, and he has described him the best he can. And fire and bronze, those are usually descriptions when we see a theophany in the Bible. And he's given a message by God, to give to his people who are there in the land. They have just been exiled in the last few years to Babylon. And he's basically telling them to settle down and build homes and live life, because you're going to be there for a while. But what I want to make a comparison to is out of the book of Revelation. And in Revelation, we see also a picture that John, after the introduction, says, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, there in verse 10. And he hears a sound, and he turns to see the sound of sounding like a trumpet. And instead he sees a theophany. He sees Jesus with the seven churches in his hands, the seven stars. He describes it this way here. Then I turned to see the voice that was speaking with me, and having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the middle of the lampstands I saw one like a son of man, clothed in a robe reaching to the feet, and girded across his chest with a golden sash. His head and his hair were white like white wool, like snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze, and one that had been made to glow in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of many waters. He sees here what's called a Christophany. This is the appearance of Christ, and I want you to notice how similar they are. Most of the appearances of the deity out of the Old Testament, what we call a theophany, the angel of the Lord, etc., are really Christophanies, the appearance of the manifestation of Christ, his pre-incarnate self. And we see here in Revelation that God is not just here to give a message, but he's here to give us comfort and counsel. It's God with his church. He doesn't stand aloof and far away. He's actively involved with his people. In fact, so much so that he identifies with his people. And he does nothing in Revelation, when you read it, he does nothing without his people at the center. And he does it with his people. He's with his people through the church age, as dysfunctional as they are. Even when he's coming back in Revelation 19, he comes with the armies of heaven, which is you and me. He comes with us to get us. I know it sounds kind of funny, backwards, but he does everything with you and I in mind. The Bible tells a story about God reuniting and restoring everything, reconciling us back to him. In the book of Revelation, the story of God taking back the earth begins with the story of Jesus with his church on earth, his church militant, his church in a sinful world. And the story ends again with Jesus with his church victorious on the new earth in the new city. Whatever story he has on his restoration of this planet involves his people. It begins with Jesus on the earth with his church, and the story ends with Jesus on the earth with his church. A theophany is not just a wonderment. A theophany tells us of the closeness and the love of God. Blessings.